Take a nice, slow, deep breath. And we welcome the spirits. And we thank God and Jesus for this opportunity to continue our education and to share that education with all who attend tonight. And we ask for guidance in our discussions, and we ask for our own patience as we digest and learn to implement what it is we will learn. And we humbly request permission to begin tonight's session. And so be it.
So be it. Hey, look who is here, Jimmy. Hey, welcome. Missing you.
Hello, hello.
All right. Okay, Samantha said be right back in 2 minutes. That's fine. You can go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I have forgotten where we are. I've forgotten what book we're in.
Okay, so
He studies. We're in the spirits book, right?
okay.
No, we're in the gospel.
No, you are in the spirit book.
Okay.
Today. Okay, do you have there?
I have my spirits book.
Okay, yeah, it's supposed to be you today. Let me see here.
I think Justice of Reincarnation. Is that where we left?
Yes, we are in the chapter 2, book 2, Incarnation of Spirits. Questions from 147 and 148, actually, just 2 questions because they are huge questions.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, let me share over here. Just a
beautiful.
second.
How good the topic is.
Yeah, let me share here the screen. Then you can just read it. Just a second. Okay. This internet's so slow. Oh my. Okay. Why this internet so slow? Oh, good. Okay, so book 2, the Incarnation of Spirits. Probably were here 147, yes, 147 and 148 is a huge question. Yeah. That's huge. Okay, let's start here. 147 first. I'll share the screen. Okay. Sure. All right, Mark, all yours.
There we go. Okay, 147. Why is it that anatomists, physiologists, and in general, those who apply themselves to the pursuit of the natural sciences are so apt to fall into materialism? The physiologist refers everything to the standard of his senses. Human pride imagines that it knows everything and refuses to admit that there can be anything that transcends the human understanding. Science itself inspires some minds with presumption. They think that nature can have nothing hidden from them.
Okay. In
Okay.
comments, maybe Samantha, she's connecting her
Well,
audio.
I understand that answer, but I don't know that it extended to the last part of the question.
What do you mean that it doesn't stand the last
So
part of it?
why are they so apt to fall into materialism? Unless, well, that's the answer. It's because this category of humans believe that everything is scientific and nothing is hidden.
Yeah.
Everything is material. When I saw the question, I was thinking about personal possessions. No, they were referring to the earth.
Yeah, because since this chapter is like about, believe in spirits and not believe, explain about the spirit and incarnation of spirits. So that's why Kardec asked why physiologists, those people that work with bodies, they understand how that works, and they know the natural things, in science. They fall into materialism. And I think like the best part of the answer here, it's human pride.
Of course.
Imagine that it knows everything. So anything that they can see beyond that, and when I mean beyond, it means beyond the body, the material body, they think that's it. But it's more about the pride of, if I don't know, it doesn't exist. If I don't see, it doesn't exist.
Correct.
Versus, no, it's something there, even that I don't know yet. I mean, I think those things, those type of thinkers, I think we have been changed along the years.
But didn't that kind of started to change with Kardec? Because he was a scientist, right? A teacher.
He's a professor. He was a professor, educator.
But he was more about the
He was more about a
stance.
philosophy.
Yes.
He was about a more philosophy. He didn't like work in the, like a doctor, I'm saying. The ones that like works with body, but for sure he knows a bunch of people because he was part of a group of scientists and professors and philosophers, and so many kind of people that are into studying things by that time. I don't think that changed because of him, uh, unless we were talking about people that read spirits book or something related. But if you take in general for the world, for the if you look into science nowadays, I think in general, if you were religions or not, if you're believing something or not, the questions has changed a little bit, because it's not more about saying no, it doesn't exist. Is, I think they're more about like, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. Because the more you study, the more you research about it, And if you're thinking about it, science, real science, is less than 500 years. If you compare how many years we are here as human beings, science is so, teenager, or not even that. Right, Jim?
Yeah, I would add also with science, specifically with medical science now, people are reduced to objects, and not even talking about spiritual. They don't even deal with people as a full human being. You know, now that I'm dealing with a lot of intensive medical personnel with my own issue, um, you're lucky if they make eye contact with you. It's all about money. It's all about numbers, and forget about your feelings or anything else as a person. They don't have no interest in that. So it's even to the point, and I'm speaking in the medical realm, the patient is not even a whole person now. It's all about money and numbers. And then the science comes in there, but I don't know. I just how I find it right now.
Yeah, I think maybe someone's going to say the same thing, agree with me, because one of the things here in America that I don't like at all, from the bottom of my heart, is going to doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody likes to go to the doctor, of course, but I mean on the matter of have a relationship with the doctor, right? Talk to the doctor understand about you, about your problem, because in Brazil, normally, at least, it's still the same. You go to the doctor's office and you can spend an hour talking to the doctor. Of course, probably they're about money too, you know, but I think the culture in America is like everything has to be fast and um and numbers
And impersonal.
and impersonal. So the first time that I came here, because every doctor that I go to Brazil, they touch you. They want to see the area of the problem. And here, I know has so many things involved in this situation, I understand, but like the culture, but that's fine. But it's took me a while to find a doctor, the primary doctor that I like, that I can just even talk, but it's not even the same. But I understand what you're saying. I just opened this idea because you are using doctors and you're going through, your situation right now. It just make me think. But what I can relate it to this question is the more those scientists and doctors, they are scientists, they're studying a lot bodies and everything, the more they understand that is something else beyond the body, I think the more humans they become.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At least that was my opinion. I think it's if when you see something beyond the body, the material body, when you understand something beyond it, I think you become more humble and try to treat people more personal. You make things more personal. I think that's
I agree completely. However, I think a lot of them are light years from that, from what you're
okay.
saying. And the patient just has to nurture themselves and navigate in this system the best they can. But
Yeah.
I agree with what you say.
I would contribute this also, that the education process for doctors is the technical content is compounded every day, every week, every month, every year. There's more information to learn as a doctor. And what becomes sacrificed is empathy. In fact, my last 12 years of my career were spent in IT for healthcare, large healthcare. And I had many occasions to talk with specialists across all the disciplines. And they echoed what I just said. You know, there's a lot of things they don't teach us. They don't teach us about the mental side, the emotional side. All they teach us is to look for the signs and then, when appropriate, to reference to a specialist on mental or emotional issues.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting.
They avoid that empathetic element, as you described, you know, the touchy-feely part of Brazil and many other countries as well.
Yeah.
And apparently some of that educational basis comes from the Asian approach to teaching medical science. It's very scientific, very less human, if you will. Now, I've also had it said to me by senior level nursing management that the nurses have empathy, the assistants, the clinicians, but not the doctors. The doctors detach from that emotional connection with the patient. Or in the case of pediatricians, the parent and the child patient. You know, there's very little empathetic elements that come into the discussions.
And then, of course, the business end.
Oh,
You know, when the
unmistakable.
doctor has 5 minutes to spend with a patient that has a potentially terminal disease, but has 5 minutes because of insurance, that additionally objectifies that person as a number. So when we talk about the spiritual component here and seeing the person as a whole, they are light years from that, light years
Very true.
away. So that's just my opinion.
Well, interesting what Mark said, because when it comes to learn the human side of being a doctor besides the science, I think that's the most important, because knowledge you can have and you can be good at it, but I understand, of course, it's a kind, I maybe I can't even be, maybe I can't even like talk about, because that's not my, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I'm human, and humans, they have their needs. And I understand that when it comes to treat a patients like terminal patients, you have to have a posture, you have to know how to do this emotionally, being a doctor, because you're going to see everyday people dying. But I think that doesn't exclude the fact that you are not kind, or, you know, I think there's so many ways, because I haven't seen doctors, they're amazing. They just see you as a human being, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like complicated if you look into this, because like the answer said, science itself inspires some minds with presumptions. And, you know, and they think that it can have nothing hidden from them. And I just imagine when they can find a cure, or when they can just help somebody, maybe they get frustrated as well, because there's another part to be human. You don't know everything. You know, you do your best, and that's why, like, you see numbers and numbers and numbers of doctor in depression, because they work a lot, for sure, especially in neurosurgery and those kind of things. But there's like, we are talking about doctors because it's part of science, and because Kardec just mentioned over here. But in general, we should see in general, as you said, Jim, the doctoral realms, if you see in general, most of them, I think, especially no, but most of them, they deal with things that it's so complicated and it's so hard. And that's why what Mark said about they don't teach them the human side of this job, of this career. I think there's the answer. And of course, then you decide.
I will share with you one conversation. Medical director with many, many, many physicians in a hospital reporting to him. He shared with me that one of the most important classes that he teaches to his doctors when they come to his hospital is an acting class. He called it an acting class. How do you act in this situation? How do you act in that situation? So if you can imagine a physician who has come into a room with a patient who is suffering, and he's looking through results from lab or from x-rays or what have you, and he sees the information. But if you're watching his face, you cannot tell what he's reacting to. You cannot tell what he's thinking. And when he begins, or she, when they begin to speak, it's very much monotone, unemotional, whether they're telling you everything looks fine or whether they're telling you something is seriously wrong.
True.
They say it the same way. They teach them how to say it the same way. And I find that most interesting because if the family is present and the doctor is reading results and delivering bad news, well, the patient might not fall apart, but you better believe the spouse or the children or the parents, they're going to react emotionally to what they hear. And yet the doctor is taught, don't react, don't show your emotional side. So when you spoke about depression, the doctors are doing their best sometimes to just keep it together until they leave the room, and then they can relax and show themselves and experience pain or what have you from what has just transpired. But to hear this medical director talk about an acting class, I was blown away. I was so surprised.
I'm surprised too. Well, makes sense actually, but I'm surprised.
Yeah, well, and here we are focusing on doctors, but I'll also kind of give you an engineering perspective. If you're a structural engineer building a multi-story building, and you're reviewing what has been done so far, if you see an error that potentially 5, 10, 20 years in the future could cause that building to weaken, sometimes for money purposes, they won't say anything. Sometimes they will absolutely make it a point it out to an inspector, and there's a very much costly rework to be done and so on. But where it's really interesting is, well, what are they building? If they're building an office building, less chance of carrying. If they're building a school, more chance of carrying.
Yeah.
If they're building a hospital, more chance of carrying.
That's serious. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, this answer is not specific to doctors. It's all kinds of professions.
Yes, I think like these answers can be related for careers, job, or whatever you may say, put a name there, is when you deal with other people, other lives, and you have like the responsibilities on your hands. I think that's that's the main thing.
Yeah, some serious karma.
Oh yeah. All right, last 148.
All right, the big one.
The big one. Go
Is
ahead.
it not regrettable? Is it not regrettable that materialism should be a consequence of studies which ought, on the contrary, to show men the superiority of the intelligence that governs the world? It is not true that materialism is a consequence of those studies. It is a result of the imperfection which leads men to draw a false conclusion from their studies. For men may make a bad use of the very best things. The idea of annihilation, moreover, troubles those who profess to hold it more than they will allow it to be seen. And those who are the loudest in proclaiming their materialistic convictions are often more boastful than the brave. The greater number of the so-called materialists are only such because they have no rational ground of belief in a future life. Show a firm anchor of rational belief in a future state to those who see only a yawning void before them, and they will grasp it with the eagerness of drowning men. Ooh.
Yeah, this part is here is like, okay. Okay, so if anybody want to just give a comment, each paragraph, because this one's going to be a long one. You guys good? Okay, Mark, I think you can move on.
Okay. There are those who, through an aberration of the intellect, can see nothing in organized beings but the action of matter, and attribute to this action the phenomena of existence. They have seen in the human body only the action of an electrical machine they have studied, the mechanism of life only in the play of the bodily organ. They have often seen life extinguished by the rupture of a filament, and they have seen nothing but this filament. They have looked to see whether anything still remained, and as they have found nothing but matter that has become inert, as they have neither seen the soul escape from the body nor been able to take hold of it, they have concluded that everything is reducible to the properties of matter, and that death is consequently the annihilation of all thought. A melancholy conclusion, if such were really the case, for were it so, good and evil would be alike devoid of aim. Every man would be, let's see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab the book. Hang on.
Yeah, read the books. They miss a lot of like points here and E and L's.
Let's see. Okay. It is an aberration of the intelligence that leads some to, oh, did I go too far?
You have to start in
I
the
did.
melancholy, yeah. Melancholy.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I've got a different version of the book than its text. Hang on, I've got a cat that is.
Okay. Let's see the one that I have here.
I apologize. I've been gone too many days and the cats are all over me.
Fine.
All right, let's try to make sense of this. It's not true. Okay. Yeah, see, I have a different version of the book.
That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, I think you're right. This is an aberration of the intelligence. Probably. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead. You can just read your book. It's kind of like just they change some
Okay.
words. It is an
Okay.
aberration. We're going to just start again the paragraph.
It is an aberration of the, yeah, it is an aberration of the intelligence that leads some to see nothing in organic being but the action of matter, and attribute all the phenomena of existence to this action. They see the human body as the action of an electrical machine. They have studied the mechanism of life only in terms of the functioning of the bodily organs. When they see this life terminated by the splitting of a single thread, they see nothing but this thread. They have looked to see whether anything remained, and never having witnessed the soul departing from the body, conclude that everything can be reduced to matter simply because this machine has become nothing more to them than an inert mass of flesh. To them, death is the extinction of all thought. This is a very dreary perception, because then good and evil would have no purpose, and every person would be vindicated in thinking only of oneself. All thoughts and actions would fall to the wayside in favor of material satisfaction. All social ties would be broken, and the purest feelings would be destroyed forever. Fortunately, these ideas are only kept by the few rather than the general population. Their extent may even be limited to individual opinions because they have not been officially established in any doctrine. A society founded on such a basis would contain the poison for its own downfall, and its members would tear each other apart like vicious beasts.
So stop right there, Marx, if you may, please, because this part here, it's it's very interesting. I think the part here when they say death is the extinction of all thought. When you believe only and just on matter and the body itself and nothing else, and you're thinking about the brain itself, and since the body, if the body died, your brain goes with it, and that's it. And when you go more deep in the study, especially on the Medium's book, you're going to understand that our thoughts doesn't come from the brain, but it comes from the spirit. And that's a point very interesting, because if you die, we still thinking. We still have thoughts, because it doesn't come from the body, the material brain, but it comes from the spirit. That's a good point to remember in the future when we study the Mediumship book.
You know, what you just said causes me to reflect on the many stories of people who have near-death experiences, where science has said this person has died, their heart has stopped beating, there's no brain activity, and the individual comes back, however much time later, comes back to human form. And they then begin to communicate what happened when they were quote unquote dead. They saw the light, they had, any number of different images. So what you were just saying about the brain and the soul still being active, I think that's absolutely true. And those people with near-death experiences or having been declared dead and then coming back to life and leading some element of normal life afterwards, when they start speaking about what happened, there's definitely activity.
Oh yeah, because if they can catch it up in activity in the brain, how are they going to explain what they were talking about it?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why they start being like, yes, it's something out there. Because if you can get an activity in the brain, even the heart, for sure, if you like thinking about the heart, gone. But and as we know, they are not dead 100%, because 100% dead is no way back. That's no way back. But they were close. That's why I like more close to death, or rather than say they were being there and they came back. No, nobody come back from death. That's not such a thing. When the bodies died and died. But yes, there was like a thin connection from the spirit to the body. But
Mhm.
when the brain, as you said, when they don't have activity in the brain, but they can still say things that happened until they were out, how they can explain that? Because thoughts doesn't come from the brain, it's just a connection from the spirit, just reflects what the spirits think. Okay.
Okay. This next paragraph looks a little bit better written. Man has an intuitive belief that, for him, everything does not end with the life of his body. He has a horror of annihilation. No matter how obstinately men may have set themselves against the idea of a future life, there are very few who, on the approach of death, do not anxiously ask themselves what is going to become of them. For the thought of bidding an eternal adieu to life is appalling to the stoutest heart. Who indeed could look with indifference on the prospect of an absolute and eternal separation from all that he has loved? Who, without terror, could behold, yawning beneath him, the bottomless abyss of nothingness, in which all of his faculties and aspirations are to be swallowed up forever? Who could calmly say to himself, after my death, there will be nothing for me but the void of annihilation. All will be ended. A few days hence, all memory of me will have been blotted out from the remembrance of those who survived me, and the earth itself will retain no trace of my passage. Even the good I have done will be forgotten by the ungrateful mortals whom I have benefited, and there is nothing to compensate me for all this loss, no other prospect beyond this ruin than that of my body devoured by worms.
Yep.
So I would say that's definitely an 1850s
Oh yeah,
perspective.
18 years. Definitely.
But still a lot of truth. Is there not something horrible in such a picture? Something that sends an icy chill through the heart. Religion teaches us that such cannot be our destiny, and reason confirms the teachings of religion. But the vague, indefinite assurance of a future existence, which is all that is given us either by religion or by reason, cannot satisfy our natural desire for some positive proof in a manner of such paramount importance for us. And it is just the lack of such proof in regard to a future life that, in so many cases, engenders doubt as to its reality.
True. Probably the main cause of doubts. What is the proof? But I believe when Kardec says the proof here, it's material proof, things that you can see, things that you can touch with material eyes, material hands. You know, have to see
Yeah,
beyond it.
pure science.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continuing. Admitting that we have a soul, many very naturally ask, what is our soul? Has it a form, an appearance of any kind? Is it a limited being, or is it something undefined and impersonal? Some say that it is a breath of God, others that it is a spark. Others again declare it to be part of the great whole, the principle of life and of intelligence. But what do we learn from these statements? What is the good of our possessing a soul if our soul is to be merged in immensity like a drop of water in the ocean? Is not the loss of our individuality equivalent so far as we are concerned, to annihilation. The soul is said to be immaterial, but that which is immaterial can have no defined proportions and therefore can have no reality for us. Religion also teaches us that we shall be happy or unhappy according to the good or the evil we have done. But of what nature are the happiness or unhappiness thus promised us in another life? Is that happiness a state of beatitude in the bosom of God, an external contemplation with no other employment than that of singing the praises of the Creator? And the flames of hell, are they a reality or a figure of speech? The church itself attributes to them a figurative meaning. But of what nature are the sufferings thus figuratively shadowed forth? And where is the scene of those sufferings? In short, what shall we be? What shall we do? What shall we see in that other world which is said to await us all?
Any thoughts, Jim? You can say.
No, I'm just contemplating on what was written here.
Yeah, it's a good explanation.
Yeah.
I like that analogy to the drop of water in the ocean.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I cannot believe that we are created to just be another drop of water.
I
I
like
guess what I would comment on is I like the writing very much, but it's very unfortunate, at least for a lot of people in this our incarnation, that our experience is often feeling very alone and not really actualizing that connection. And I find that it's very unfortunate. You know, one of my grievance that I will file one day when I'm on the other side, that most people do not have that perception or experience that they have this great connection and that we are not alone. Contrary, most people feel quite alone. So that's where one of my grievances will be filed about.
Well, it's funny you saying this, Jim, because all the time when you were in the mediumship session and some mentors come to us, I mean come to the, to give some what didn't say some messages.
Yeah.
They always say, we are here all the time. You guys are not alone. But one of them said something that was like, that's true. But we talk to you guys all the time. You give insights. But you guys are blind, are deaf. You guys don't hear anything. And he was saying, not in the matter of hearing, seeing materially in way, it's feeling. Because if you just stop for a second and put your thoughts together, you're going to see the answer. Is things going to start make sense for you. But you guys, it's like kids that you have to repeat 100 times something in order to you guys understand.
Husbands too.
Right? It was, yeah, that was like, so like, that's caught my attention because they're here right now, hearing us. They're here right now, studying with us. And some of the mentors may be thinking like, yes, we try hard, because the same way we have our duties, they have their own duties as well. You know, we are all part one thing, working together. But thinking about it, when you have a team, and part of this team is working hard, and as they work hard, they can see, think more clearly and make better decisions. The another part of the team, which it's us in this case, are the ones that is still working, but is always waiting for the another part, the part A of the team, say something in order to us move on. Because we don't want to see, we don't want to hear. And I'm not, one more time, I'm not saying see and hear materially, but it's just a matter of feeling. And it doesn't have anything related to religion, what I'm saying. It's us as human beings.
And
We don't
I guess that my or not knowing is why, as human beings, that we are sort of, and there are exceptions, but generally that we are wired, that there is this veil, you know, that's there. And it's almost setting people up for failure or to feel cut off. Because yes, if people quiet themselves or make themselves more sensitized, absolutely. I've had my own experiences, but in general, a lot of people just don't seem to have that capacity to be able to have that awareness available. And I think as being human beings, we're kind of in that predicament. So, you know, it's kind of, I don't know. Well, I'm looking at it very prejudicial. So, but
Nobody
anyway.
right. Awareness, be aware of things. But well, at least in my opinion, as I have seen like so far at least, or I started seeing more um people talking more about this. Perception, insights, feelings, energy, you
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
that's like, maybe we are waking up. Slowly, but we are. So
You
if
can
you,
just, yeah, you can refer to me as a disgruntled medium.
okay, there you go. Oh, Jimmy Rawson.
But
All right,
anyway,
from the median. At least we're going to have a wake.
a little bit, yeah.
All right, Mark. So continue.
No one, is averred, has ever come back to give us an account of that world. But this statement is erroneous, and the mission of Spiritism is precisely to enlighten us in regard to the future which awaits us, to enable us, within certain limits, to see and to touch it, not merely as a deduction of our reason, but through the evidence of facts. Thanks to the communications made to us by the people of that other world, the latter is no longer a mere presumption, a probability, which one pictures to himself according to his own fancy, which poets embellish with fictitious and allegorical images that serve only to deceive us. It is that other world itself, in its reality, which is now brought before us. For it is the beings of the life beyond the grave who come to us, who describe to us the situations in which they find themselves, who tell us what they are doing, who allow us to become, so to say, the spectators of the details of their new order of life, and who thus show us the inevitable fate which is reserved for each of us, according to our merits or our misdeeds. Is there anything anti-religious in such a demonstration? Assuredly not, since it furnishes unbelievers with a ground of belief and inspires lukewarm believers with renewed fervor and confidence. Spiritism is thus seen to be the most powerful auxiliary of religion. And if it be such, it must be acknowledged to exist by the permission of God, for the purpose of giving new strength to our wavering convictions, and thus of leading us back into the right road by the prospect of our future happiness.
Well said, Kardec.
Mm.
That part, it's the point that we understand that spiritism is not the religion of the future, but is the future of all the religions. It came to us to prove what the religions are saying for years. And when I say religions, I'm say, Bible itself and those kind of things, because they're there the information. But I'm not saying religions for humans as they change so many things along the years, but religions in a sense of spirituality. So that's why spiritism is does seem to be the most powerful auxiliary of religion. It's so true. Because at some point, all the religions is gonna get the same conclusion. I mean, they already have the conclusion, to be really honest. But pride is a problem. It's still a problem.
Oh,
But you're gonna get there at some point.
well,
You're gonna get there.
they protect their existence by refuting an explanation that is beyond what their own doctrine is all about.
Well, yes, but there's a thing. If you, as we are talking about in this chapter, incarnation, and we're going to talk reincarnation as well. I don't remember. No, I don't think it in the spirit book it says this, but if you go along the history and not to relate it spiritism or not, or nothing like this, you're going to learn that reincarnation was in the Bible.
Yes.
They just took it off.
And it exists in other religions too.
Oh, yes. And if you just think for 5 minutes, you're going to end up in a conclusion that, well, all the old religions for the old world, they believe in the incarnation. Why? I remember once talking to a friend that he studied the Bible a lot. He's not a spiritist, but he studied the Bible. And he came to me and said, but why Moses would not allow the Hebrews to talk to spirits? Because that's not true. That's something that doesn't exist. And there was like something in my mind, like, well, it makes sense what he's saying, but it has to be an answer, a good answer for that. And then years later, I just watched a lecture from this guy in Brazil. He's pretty good, by the way, Haroldo Dutra. And he said, thinks that the society not allowed or is prohibited because it's something that we can do it. Nobody prohibits something that you can do it. Like now it's a law that nobody can fly, okay? Nobody can go up to the mountain and jump to fly, okay? That's a law, that's not permitted. Of course, there's not such a thing because we know you don't have wings. You can fly, right? So nobody's going to prohibit something that is not possible. They're going to prohibit something that is possible. And then when I saw this guy saying that, I was like, that is the answer. Because Moses knows that it's possible to talk to spirits. And then has explanation after that I was looking for from Kardec. Why he was trying to make people not talk to the spirits, which was so normal by the time, so normal. They know the existence of the spirits because they were making this as a business. You know, they were making this as a business. And Moses was like the first medium that we know in the history. Of course, probably there's more, but like the first one that we have noticed, because in the Bible he was a medium, and he knew that it was there, that it's possible to talk spirits. So if you go through the history and we start studying those stories, you're going to just end up in this conclusion: yes, it's possible to talk to spirits. You know, and then the incarnation and reincarnation, no resurrection, as the religions put there, resurrection, but it's possible. It's just a matter of study and open your mind, of course. As I said, this is going to be the future. I don't know if it's the near future. I believe it is the near future, when pride, you're not going to have space anymore in such conclusion for everybody, from everybody. And then the responsibility, we arrived for so many, like, okay, now time to face reality. All right, I think that's it. Does anybody else want to say something? That's a very good explanation, by the way. I like this 148.
It's a very powerful question.
Oh yeah, it is. And I think the answer is all the spirit's answer. I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend. Okay, so I think that's it.
Close it out.
Yeah, and then next week we come back to the gospel. Okay, let's stop share here. Then I can see you guys better. All right. So Jimmy, you'd like to do the final pray?
Okay. Okay. First of all, we like to give thanks and much gratitude for this time that we had together. And we thank the spirits that have joined us in this study, and that they will continue to be with us and inspire us and guide us to persevere in our own lives in a positive manner, that we will continue to wake up to a deeper understanding of messages and guidance that we will receive, and that we also extend ourselves and our wishes for others who are in need of teachings and guidance, that they will find that source that will be most helpful to them. And that when we do end this session, we'll go out with a spirit of joy into our own circle of people. So be it.
So be it.
So be it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you, Jimmy. I was missing you.
Good to see you too. My goodness, all of you, really. How
Good to
is
see you, Jimmy.
everyone?
Oh, we're just fine. Just living the life.
The best we can.
That's what we can.
I like Mark's reading. Mark was perfect in reading this type of writings,
Thank you, Jimmy.
because these writings can sometimes be difficult to follow. Sometimes, yeah, and they're abstract. So his way of reading was fantastic.
Yeah, so you left me here alone, okay? So and then I found Mark in my life. Thank you, God, because how I'm going to read this in English here for the YouTube watching it? That Nora is life, okay? Oh, guys, you're funny. Okay, thank you so much, Mark. It was a wonderful day, and you're going to start the next chapter. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I see you
You too.
tomorrow, Mark. And I
Okay.
hopefully I see you next week, Jimmy. Take care, okay?
Okay, good to see you.
Good to see you. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.